Hey guys, my name is Dave Shrout, and I will be introducing you guys into the food manufacturing injury, illness, and fatalities industry. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all is the learning objectives. Discover the dangers of the food industry, and most people, when thinking about dangers in manufacturing industries and things like that, um, stereotypically believe that CNC construction things like that are the more dangerous of the many industries when, believe it or not, food is actually up there with them. And so just getting familiar with that, you know, the food industry is also one that struggles to make ends meet along with many other industries. So that'll be the first learning objective. Secondly, break down more important areas to better understand safety in the workplace. What I mean by that is just simply going into detail in some of the more dangerous industries, which will include animal and food manufacturing, grain and oil, animal slaughter, things like that. So we can learn more about what the dangers are of each industry, because along with different industries come different responsibilities, different dangers. So it's one of the more interesting factors of the food industry. Understand statistical methods used to interpret data. That's just using the quantitative methods that we have learned in this class so that we can better understand the data that I've collected for this project, such as mean, median, mode, standard deviation, things like that, just to get you guys more acquainted with the data. Use what we have learned to suggest how to make a workplace a safer environment. And that, is just suggestions, using the data that I collected to make suggestions and try to make the workplace a better environment by using what we know to help that environment. So, yeah. All right, so the introduction. Um, Background of the food manufacturing industry. Like I said, the food manufacturing may be overlooked when looking into all the injuries, illnesses, and fatalities in the workplace. Like I said, a lot of people believe, construction, things like that are higher end, but that can be slightly misleading. It's definitely up there with them. So, in fact, 2008 was one of the worst years among really any industry for the injuries, illnesses, and fatalities in the workplace. There were, I believe, 14 explosions in the sugar refinery sector of the food industry, and that caused a lot of deaths among the workers that were in that area. So, what does it mean, to be in an industry like that? It can mean a lot of different things because, like I said, there's so many subcategories, which I will not cover all of them, but some of them. Um, but with all these different subcategories becomes so many different dangers, whether it be sharp knives, machines, loud noises, things like that. Um, every single subcategory has its own dangers, which is, um, you know, not good in a sense, which leads into animal slaughter. Animal slaughter is definitely the worst category in the food manufacturing industry, for obvious reasons. Animal slaughter is one that people are dealing with, sharp knives and cutting, um, you know, animals all day. And it almost becomes, dangerous just because doing the same repetitive motion over and over again all day. So that's definitely one danger of that industry. But that animal slaughter, most of the time, if not always, is on top of the list when it comes to injuries, illnesses, and fatalities because of their workplace environment. Worst year in food manufacturing history in terms of injuries and fatalities. I stated this a little bit earlier, and that would be 2008 for sure. Um, you know, Not just in the sugar refining industry, but there were 93,200 reported cases of injury, illnesses, and fatalities in the food manufacturing industry alone. So that number is the highest, and is one that really sticks out when you look at that 10-year gap that we've looked at. And safety professionals, investigation to find the root of the problem. After an accident occurs, safety professionals dissect certain areas of the workplace. These need to be broken down by a professional in order to, find the root, as I said. All the different areas that can be, the root of the problem include process and equipment, maintenance, sanitation, job description, training, and facility layout. Process and equipment is one, that mostly includes the design of how it's getting done. If it's not getting done the right way or the best way possible, that can fall into this category. This could just mean, it's not being done in the most effective way, and this could cause some kind of a danger for the employee or the employees around them. Secondly is maintenance, as I said. Another category that has to do with machinery involved. Something went wrong during the process with a tool or something along those lines. That would fall into the maintenance category because of the fact that it has to be fixed, and that could have caused the overall accident in the first place. So sanitation, all about keeping the area and the tools and things like that clean, mostly for bacteria, but also for organization in general. Working in unorganized environments, always seems to kind of cause more accidents than more organized environments. So that's a sanitation thing, along with keeping bacteria, away from the food. Job description. Job description is another area that can be broken down. This is more or less to see if the victim is performing what he or she should have been doing within their daily tasks. So if it was something that they should have been doing on the job, then that is something that they were trained to do, hopefully. If it's something that they weren't supposed to be doing, it's something that they were probably not trained to do, which can definitely cause catastrophic events because of the fact that they really are not 100% trained on what to do. And that leads into the next thing, which is training. And training, I think, is something that is the most important and, can be overlooked. People think that, they know what they're doing or it won't happen to me kind of thing. And, obviously not true. Lastly is facility layout. Facility layout is just simply if a machine is, up against another machine close by and swinging arms and things like that, it can endanger the operator and the people around them. So it's just the overall layout of all the machines and people in that environment. For the hypothesis, the reason for choosing this topic, the main reason why I chose it because it's not necessarily the norm. I think that it's something that not a lot of people think about when thinking injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. And so when I was looking into it, I thought that this would be one that not many people would really go for. And so that's part of the reason why I chose it. I also thought it would be interesting for sure. And I thought the data would be relatively available for me. So prediction for the data. I didn't think that it would be as bad as it was. I thought it would be a little more, safe in a sense. But yeah, the data definitely resides with a lot of the other dangerous industries for sure. So that definitely surprised me, but was cool to see. It was interesting for sure. It caught me off guard. So I was a success doing this topic for sure. Reason for my prediction, I guess it's just not stereotypically, in the most dangerous environment. When thinking about the food industry, you believe that, things aren't as maybe, dangerous as the other industries, as I've said before. So that's probably the reason and definitely part of the reason why my hypothesis didn't match the data exactly, just because it's not stereotypically the most dangerous industry out there. But like I said, definitely ranks up there. So, okay, methodology and procedures. I've taken statistics, been collected from numerous sources on the internet to provide information about injuries, illnesses, and fatalities of the food business. Using methods such as mean, median, mode, TRC, DART rates, standard deviation. All these were used to better understand the data. And TRC meaning total recordable injury and illness cases, and DART meaning days awaited or restricted or transferred. So, yeah, the data was organized and using the charts of the past 10 years to understand the data that has gone through there. So, the data from the past 10 years is one that actually needs a lot of attention because of the fact that it's not something that varied a whole lot through the 10 years. Obviously, safety professionals are doing their best to make the food industry a safer environment, but in order to do that, I think some changes need to occur, but it doesn't look like a ton of it has, varied. We've had worse years, we've had better years, but nothing, not crazy trends. Results and analysis for the first graph is on the total recordable illnesses, or I'm sorry, total recordable cases between the past 10 years that we're studying, and those different subcategories. There's about 10 of them, probably at least on there. Between the grain and oil, animal food manufacturing, the sugar, and animal slaughter, things like that. There's plenty of them on there, so it's a really interesting graph. Nice to see, and crazy to see the differences in some of the subcategories. Secondly, is the graph on total recordable illnesses, and that's just a graph on the illnesses in the private industries of 2008. So that's also another interesting graph, and to see what's the leading, illnesses in the industries. It's slightly surprising. And lastly, is the table showing data on incidence rates, which is the total recordable non-fatal occupational injury and illnesses incidence rates of 2008 to 2012, and that goes by the number of employees per industry, so 1 through 10, 11 through 49, 50 through 250, and so on. So all those graphs really help to speak for the data that has been discussed and gathered by myself, and to understand it better. Discussion of the data. Number one, trends in the data. Looking at all the graphs and all the tables and everything like that over the past 10 years, it's unfortunate to see that the trends really don't have a trend per se. They don't really go one way or the other. They're kind of pretty steady, which is unfortunate because obviously all safety professionals, are working in the food industry to make it a safer place and everything like that. So with them not changing at all, maybe some bigger changes need to occur. Take more drastic steps. Obviously, we learn by accidents, but that's not the way that we like to do it. We like to prevent them. So with them working toward it and really getting nowhere with it, it's unfortunate to see for sure. And like I said, we've had better years and we've had worse years, but getting those numbers down as soon as possible is is our biggest priority right now. Significance of the trends, like I said, with them not going down, I think some, maybe some big changes need to occur. for big changes. I'm not 100% sure on what those should be, but over the past 10 years, not getting any better kind of speaks for itself. So, suggestions on safety. Safety is always being worked on, as I said. But with with so many people working in the food manufacturing industry, since it is one of the most highly populated industries in the out there, it's good to just be organized. And I know some industries are slightly unorganized, doing some of the research. So, getting organized and, preventing those, accidents that are just kind of dumb mistakes is some of the more important things here. Um, with so many bodies, it causes a lot of chaos. So if not handled correctly, um, it can cause a lot of danger. Um, so yeah, another way would just be like, sanitation, as we said earlier. If a workplace is dirty, things like that, especially in the food business, it can cause, bacteria and things like that, to become on the food. And that's more of an illness category, but definitely one that speaks. Another way to help make this a safer environment, would just be wearing earplugs, simply. Personally, I've worked in a shop myself, and a lot of the people there are just too, I guess, lazy to put in earplugs when working around, such big machines, and it can cause such bad hearing. So definitely one that can hurt. Technology that can help. I think that the technology that's coming out, there's something called toolless equipment, which can be, adding this kind of equipment to the industry. I think it would be good because, the less tools, kind of the better. It'd solve a lot of the industries. Oh, it'd also help the food itself become, because of the fact that there would be less, one less contact to the food. The fewer items that touch your food, the better, especially to the public. And lastly, employee responsibility. I'm sorry, employee responsibility is something that goes along with the whole job training and things like that. If an employee doesn't know exactly what they're doing, they need to speak up, and not many people do. And employees, are in charge of knowing their own equipment, and if they don't know how to fully operate it, it can cause harm to themselves and also harm to other people around them. So for my conclusion, dangers of the food industry. What we went over today. Um, dangers of the food industry is very broad because of the fact that there's so many subcategories. So there's so many dangers that could be covered in so many industries with so many different dangers. So it's tough, to kind of go over every single one. But with all of them, differing so much, um, there's a lot of ways that it can be improved. A lot of ways that the food industry can improve from here. Certain areas of the food industry have come a long ways. Some haven't, and that's why we're kind of lagging in terms of trends and data. But obviously, we're still working towards making it better. So, and that leads into why the trends stayed constant, and that's just that's tough to say, just because of the fact that so many professionals are working hard on them and have not done the best job so far. Um, but I have full trust, obviously, and so should everyone else, that we will get somewhere someday. We've had better years, which we need to take notes of those, and try and make those a priority, in terms of making those years more like the years to come. So, and what have we learned from our mistakes? I touched on that just for a second. It's awesome that we learn from our mistakes, but at the same time, we learn the hard way and ways that we shouldn't learn. So those are mistakes that need to be avoided, and mistakes that need to be, learned before accidents happen. Understanding data through statistical measures. Hopefully you guys get to see the data through how I did it in my paper. It's really cool. Some of the graphs are cool. So yeah, there's many aspects that can be improved in the food industry, and I think we'll get there someday. All right, here's all my references here. Go ahead and check them out if you'd like to. I think they're pretty cool. Definitely teach you something. Hopefully, you guys learned a lot today. I definitely had a lot of fun doing this paper. So, yeah, take a look. Hopefully, you guys have a great day. Thanks.